Can we have a call to order and a salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting, including date, time, and location, to be posted in the South Brunswick Public Library and the Board Office, filed with the Township Clerk, and communicated to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger. Mr. Pawlowski, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Deepa Karthik, Mr. Raja Krishna, Mr. Ray Keener.
Here.
Mr. Mike Mitchell.
Present.
Dr. Smitha Raj.
Here.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Scoletti.
Here.
Mr. Barry Nathanson. Mrs. Joyce Metha.
Here.
We have a quorum.
It is resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of South Brunswick hereby moves into executive session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10(4)(6) through to 10(4)(21, to discuss the following legal communications. It is further resolved that the discussion conducted in executive session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the matters have been resolved. Formal action may be taken at any meeting. Can I please have a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Seconded by Dr. Raj. Any nays, abstentions? Motion carries. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for waiting. Really, really appreciate it. Moving on. David, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. And that's the approval of the agenda.
We get a motion to open public session?
Can I have a motion to return to public session, please? Dr. Raj, thank you. Seconded by Mr. Nathanson. Any nays? Any abstentions? Discussion? Motion carries. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Mrs. Rogers, a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mitchell, thank you. Any discussion? Any nays? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to the report of the student representative, Victoria Gutt. Victoria?
Thank you. For wrestling, we have Nicholas Wozbeski, placed 4th in the Region 5th tournament, which qualified him for the NJSI AA State Wrestling Championship Tournament. Girls winter track and field, the girls team had won the GMC Championship for the 7th straight season. 13 girls contributed to this team's scoring, led by Melanie LaCourte, who won the high jump, and Zianne Baker, who won shot put. Boys winter track and field. The boys winter track had wrapped up a successful season in which they won the GMC Relay Championship meet and placed second in the GMC Championship. Individually, Domarion Potts excelled all season high jump, winning the GMC State Sectional Group 4 and at New Jersey State Meet of Champions, setting the school record at 6'9". Congratulations, Domarion, on your big achievement. For spring tryouts for golf, lacrosse, and spring track began Monday, March 7th. Tryouts for baseball and softball pitchers and catchers began Tuesday, March 8th, and all tryouts for baseball, softball, boys tennis, and boys volleyball will begin Friday, March 11th. A signing party for signing parties was held senior soccer athlete Ali Zufer on February 28th. Ali will be attending the Shepherd University in the fall. We will wish him a continued success. That is all I have for you folks today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you. Me? Yes. Okay. Okay, moving on to the report of the superintendent, but before I do that, I just want to have a quick word with everybody here. I thank you all sincerely for coming here today. I just have a statement I'd like to make before we continue. A few weeks ago, the superintendent of schools expressed the view that my conduct on the Late Start Committee had violated the rules of ethics applicable to board members. While I did not believe that I had done anything wrong, I contacted our board attorney to ask her for her input to ensure that I was handling the situation appropriately. This was an appropriate use of the board attorney, and as board president, I'm responsible to ensure that all of us abide by the applicable legal standards. Unfortunately, I believed incorrectly, and I now understand that my communications with the board attorney would be kept confidential. Because I expected that my communications with the board attorney would not be disclosed to the others, because they would involve an allegation against me personally, I was taken aback when challenged on them at the board retreat, and I became defensive. I regret not being 100% transparent and forthcoming in response to the questions from my colleagues and the public at the board retreat last week, and for that, I want to sincerely apologize to you from the bottom of my heart. I have nothing to hide about my discussions with the board attorney, who is retained by the board for the very purpose of providing legal advice. I most certainly was not seeking advice on a personal matter unless one defines how I conduct myself as a board president as a personal matter. I hope and expect that all of my colleagues on the board would not hesitate in consulting our board attorney if they had any questions about legal standards applicable to their work as board members. When a board member is accused of unethical behavior, it would be negligent not to consult with the board attorney for a legal opinion. Instead, had Ms. Wright told me that, had Ms. Wright told me that I was doing anything inappropriate on the Late Start Committee, I would have reversed the course immediately. Thankfully, she assured me that there was nothing wrong. Because some members of the public and some fellow board members have questioned my credibility, if the board are willing to waive attorney-client privilege, which I now understand belongs to the board, not to me as an individual, I have no objections to any of my communications with Ms. Wright being released to the public. I want full transparency. I apologize without any reservation for not being completely transparent when I was questioned at the last meeting on the subject of my consultations with the board attorney. However, I do not and will not apologize for consulting with the board attorney when I needed legal advice in response to a suggestion that my conduct as board president was legally inappropriate. While the time spent by the attorney undoubtedly cost the board money in legal fees, money spent on ensuring compliance with the law is money well spent. Should the board see fit to release the contents of my written communications with the attorney and to permit me to describe those otherwise privileged discussions, I would be happy to cooperate in the interest of demonstrating the appropriateness of my conduct, both on the Late Start Committee and addressing the suggestion that my conduct on that committee was inappropriate. I am very proud to have the privilege to serve the students and families of South Brunswick as board president, and I hope we can avoid any unnecessary infighting and drama and continue to focus on the needs of our students and the dedicated staff who work so hard to serve them. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for reaching out with your communications, which I truly, truly appreciate, and I encourage you all to keep doing so, because without you, without the community, without your suggestions, your feedback, we don't work in a silo. We are better, we are stronger because of you. So I just want to say thank you to you all and for your support, your heartfelt support. Thank you. Moving on. So now we will have the report of the Superintendent of Schools. Mr. Feder, over to you.
Today, believe it or not, is the 2-year anniversary of our first day off of COVID. This was the night, remember that, this was the night I was trying my best to try and find out information from the state. No information came from the state. That was the start of a wonderful 2-year journey. I will leave that to be my report for tonight. And I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Feder. Moving on to the recognitions. Who will be taking? CJ, would you please come to this stand? Thank you so much.
Good evening. I want to thank Scott Feder and the administrative team of South Brunswick School District and the Board of Education for allowing me to stand here today and recognize some of our amazing student athletes in the South Brunswick School District. Today we are here to recognize two special groups of sports. First being the South Brunswick boys bowling team, coached by Kelly Fortune, Crossroads South physical education teacher. Coach Fortune and her team were able to become this year's NJSIAA Group 4 state champions, as well as the Tournament of Champions winner, making them the #1 boys bowling team in the state of New Jersey. These young men have done a tremendous job in doing everything possible to represent South Brunswick School District to the best of their ability. I have a newfound respect for bowling after attending a couple bowling matches this year. Next time I'll bring my painter's ladder so I can see the actual lane. It was great to watch these young men represent our school so well, with such respect, with such integrity, and they did it under the great leadership of not just Miss Fortune, but also here Miss Terralyn Bernstein, who was also the only other coach to win a TOC in South Brunswick school history. So both of our TOCs are by bowling teams. So, on behalf of South Brunswick High School, these certificates of achievement are given out to every member of the South Brunswick boys bowling team. They are individualized for their accomplishments, signed by myself, and a representation, a small token of the phenomenal job they've done this season. We thank you for leading the right way by being great student athletes and tremendous members of our school community. Thank you, boys bowling. As Ms. Fortune is passing them out, we have a couple members who aren't here, so I want to make sure that we, recognize these guys as a group. But one thing that I want to say on top of that is just the work that Ms. Fortune puts in. She is not just a great coach, but a phenomenal educator. And the work that she's done to make these guys great groups of young men is definitely something that needs to be notated. So thank you to Ms. Fortune for all of your work. I'd like to bring up our next honoree tonight, Mr. Domarion Potts. As Victoria mentioned, his accolades, I've had the fortunate opportunity to know Domarion since he was at Crossroads South Middle School as a former health and physical education teacher there. He is a phenomenal young man who truly leads by example. He leads by his actions and not so much his words. He does a great job of allowing people to follow his lead. So sometimes being a good leader is great, but to allow people to follow you in the right direction is even a bigger testament of his integrity and the respect that he gains from his teammates. Domarion's an elite student athlete. He's as good as it gets in what he does. And he's not just a track member, he's part of our football program as well. He's revered by his teachers in terms of his character and his personality and the respect that he gives and receives. This year, he was our Group 4 state high jump champion. He's also the indoor high jump school record holder at South Brunswick High School, jumping 6'9" with room to give, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm very excited to present him with this certificate, just not as a token from South Brunswick High School, but just as a reminder that there's so much room to go and jump because he's only a junior. So I anticipate being back here again next year to present another one of these to Domarion for breaking his own school record once again. So. Once again, I thank Domarion's family and the families of our boys bowling team for attending today. Thank you to Mr. Feder and his administrative team in the district, and as well as the Board of Education for allowing me to present these phenomenal groups. And I look forward to continuing to acknowledge our student athletes in this district moving forward. They are living proof that it's always a good day to be a Viking. Thank you.
Such great news, and we're incredibly proud of all our athletes. Thank you so very much.
Go home and get their homework done.
Exactly. Okay. Moving on now to the presentation. We have a 2022-2023 tentative budget that will be presented by Mr. Feder and Mr. Plowski.
I'd like to make a motion that we move that presentation to after new business.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Reena, any discussion? Any nays, abstentions? All in favor? Yes, Dr. Raj.
Do we need to have this conversation, the budget presentation today? Could we move it to a further date because there has been some revisions anyway?
We will be doing it today.
Oh, we will be doing it today?
Yeah, we
Okay.
do have to have it today.
Okay.
Thank you.
People are waiting for,
Thank
I
you,
think,
Dr.
the new
Raj,
business.
for that,
Old business.
for that question. Thank you. So moving on now to public comments, and this will be on agenda items only. On public comments on agenda items only. Do we have any speakers who would like to speak?
Yes, at this time
Thank you,
we
Mr.
have
Plowski.
10 registered speakers. Eric Schlesinger, Debbie Buonicore, Stephen Garwood, Elaine Runyon, Tina Schlesinger, Bina Mehta, Brianne Lemmering, Ian Ho, Saba Ifran Shamamshi, and Vanessa Dunbar.
So who's the first on that list?
Eric Schlesinger.
Eric, would you like to come to the stand?
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, it is.
Okay.
Is he going to be able to get through?
The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing board members and allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Complete copies of the rules that govern this portion of the meeting are available to the public at the back of the room, or you can obtain an advance copy by contacting the board office during regular business hours. We reserve the right to limit each speaker to no more than 3 minutes. It is our plan to listen to each member of the public. We will note all questions and comments made. Once all questions and comments from all members of the public are made, the Board of Education will respond, if necessary, to questions or comments in the most timely and efficient manner available. Please consider not repeating comments and questions made by other members of the public. I ask that you state your name, place of residence, or your group affiliation. Thank you.
And just for everybody tonight, that we have a lot of registered public speakers, I will give you a little hand wave at 3 minutes. Yep. Not to cut you off, just to let you know that your 3 minutes is up. And if you are a registered speaker, if you could please move to that area of the auditorium, that would be grateful in the sense that we can keep people moving along. Thank you. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Plowski.
Thank you. My name's Eric Schlesinger. I live in Monmouth Junction. I had a daughter that is a product of South Brunswick School District, a recent graduate, and the school system was successful for her, and she's now a successful college freshman. And the reason that I'm here tonight is to talk about some of the items that we've seen in board conduct over past meetings. And I'm very bothered by them. I have served, and my family has served in the school district in a number of volunteer matters, from serving in the PTO at the elementary schools, and then volunteering countless hours to support our arts and music department through the marching band and color guard, through all their performances and tournaments. And the reason, and we still do it to this day, even though our daughter graduated, and the reason we do that is because of the values and the lessons taught through the hard work of their coaches and teachers. And some of the things that we've seen tonight, especially with tonight's presentation of our students, especially about, and I forget the young man's name, but he talked about his leadership through example, his integrity. And there are a couple of members on this board that sit here tonight that I don't think represent those values. And it's very concerning because this is a great school district that we have and we've had for a very long time, and I'd like to see it come back to that. And I want every board member sitting here to think about whether or not the events of the past few months represent those values and whether you're here to serve this community and to better our school system, or are you here to serve your own personal political gain? Your job as board members, and I've heard there's a former board member, former board president sitting in this audience, and I heard him say in a number of meetings, this is a policy board that sits here to further the educational purpose and provide a thorough and efficient education for every student in this community. And are you doing that? Are you leading by example? Are you leading with integrity? It takes a village to raise a child, and the educators that work for this school district are part of that village. And they have to follow the policies and the example set by you. And I will tell you this, our children are watching. They are watching your conduct. They are watching your example. They watch when you lack integrity. They watch when you get defensive. They watch when you don't answer questions. The examples that are being set by you, and I'm not saying this to any specific board member, but if the shoe fits, think about it. But they watch you and they say, hey, our board members think it's okay not to answer questions. They think it's okay to make up stories to avoid answering questions. That's not the example we want to show our students. We want to show our students that we as adults have integrity and have value because we're the educators. They look to us on how to act in public and in private. So, think about that. And think about whether or not you as a board member are serving that purpose or are you only serving your own personal gain. And one final note, and this is the only time I'm ever going to direct it to a specific board member. Ms. Maida, I listened to your statement that you read before. It's the same statement you posted on public media earlier today. I don't believe a word of it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
I have 10 seconds left. You are a trained attorney. You know full well how this works. And everything you said tonight lacks complete credibility. And I hope you take that to heart, and I hope you consider whether or not you should continue moving forward and serving this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm just real quick. When I give the wave, that's 3 minutes, and if you could just recognize that, so that we've made some type of eye contact, or it's just a recognition, so that I know that you understand. Thank you.
All right. My name is Deborah Bonacore, and I'm a resident of Kendall Park, and a recently retired teacher of South Brunswick. But as a longtime resident of South Brunswick, I've attended many of these meetings in person, and I've also watched at home many, many years. I've been disturbed recently and concerned about the transparency about what has happened in this board. The South Brunswick Board of Ed has always been collaborative. not always 100% agreement with one another. However, there was always open and respectful discussions. I was alarmed at the lack of communication between Mrs. Mehta and fellow board members regarding the cancellation of the retreat. I believe that happened in January. I watched that meeting. And also the committee assignments and the confusion over that. That came to light at the January meeting, I believe, one of the January meetings, but there still were not answers given at that time. Now, after the most recent meeting or retreat, there were questions that were evaded, they were not answered, and just leaving the actions unexplained. I'm here to urge Joyce to consider stepping down as board president and allow an experienced person to lead for the betterment of our students, our district, and our town. And if not, then I urge that the board continue their diligence and to fully investigate any impropriety that they feel fit.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Dunbar, and I reside in Kensal Park. Good evening, South Brunswick, board members, Mr. Fetter, and Mr. Pulowski. The last several board meetings were quite interesting, to say the least. Let's start with the reorganization meeting held on January 6th. At this meeting, Lisa Rogers nominated Ray Keener for president, and Mike Mitchell nominated Joyce Mehta. I would like to note Barry Nathanson, Joseph Scaletti, and Lisa Rogers all voted yes for Ray Keener. We all know Joyce Mehta is now the president. Moving forward to the following meeting held on January 20th, there was a great division among the board members. During this meeting, there were questions and discussions pertaining to the cancellation of the retreat. Joyce Mehta and Mike Mitchell canceled the meeting without communication with all board members. Also, Lisa was removed from a committee and placed on a committee she already expressed that she could not be on due to a scheduling conflict. To me, it seemed intentional. By this, I mean Joyce Mehta was getting back at Lisa Rogers for a no vote as president. The next meeting was held on February 10th. The meeting went well and looked like there was unity again. During the February 24th meeting, Joyce Mehta and Mike Mitchell both abstained from voting on the transportation issue. A lot of people in the community questioned your decisions to abstain from voting based on the amount of days, weeks, and months spent on the committee, and the length of time you could have asked questions for more detail and more information. I had an opportunity to review the recorded retreat. I actually watched it over multiple times. Joyce Mehta requested Barry Nathanson be removed from a committee on 3 occasions. Could this be retaliation because of a no vote? Mike Mitchell, when you ran for Board of Ed, you ran on the following: cooperation, communication, but mostly importantly, putting students first. Mike Mitchell, you did not communicate. You did not put the students first. Your response to Ray questioning you about abstaining was, didn't matter. Unsure where I stood. Too soon. Didn't have enough information. What stands out most out of the comments from you is didn't matter. So putting students first didn't matter? The community hears you loud and clear. Joyce Mehta, part of your platform that you ran on was working in unity towards the same goal. When you canceled the original date of the retreat, you did not work in unity. You did this on your own and consulted with Mike Mitchell. You stated you called the lawyers only about Robert's rules. You were unfamiliar with it. Today, you posted on Facebook an apology for not being transparent. You stated you called the lawyers because of Scott Fetter's letter. Another part of the platform you ran on was encouraging transparency. During the retreat, you were not transparent at all. You sat there and covered up, finagled what you did. I agree with Lisa Rogers. You are not trustworthy. Because of this, I personally feel you should resign. Please don't make the taxpayers of this community wait until Election Day. Your seat is up in 2022.
Thank you.
Hi, Steve Garwood. I live in Princeton Walk. We moved to this community so our children could go to school here. They went from kindergarten and graduated. They're now 25 and well out of here. And my wife taught here for decades and unfortunately had to retire due to long-term COVID, but still loves the community and the school district. We were quite disturbed by the activities taking place in the board meetings over the last several months. And, you know, the list of issues has been given already, so I'm not going to repeat it. But, you know, people disagree, right? We can have different decisions. We can decide to go different directions for things we all care deeply about. But what can't happen is that the response to being questioned about that, the response to issues with those decisions, that those responses can't be lies. They can't be evasive. They can't be avoided, right? We've seen it through multiple meetings on multiple issues, and as was pointed out, even continued through the social media post today from Mrs. Maida, where the responses have differed on the same questions repeatedly. That kind of, that speaks to the person and not the actions, not the differences that we might have. It speaks to the person and the integrity of that person and their ability to lead. As I told my boys when they were growing up, you make small deposits in your trust bank every time you do something good, and you make an enormous withdrawal every time you violate that trust. And an enormous withdrawal was made. I think the trust is lacking, and I do think that you need to step down as president and possibly from the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elaine Runyon. I'm a resident of South Brunswick, and I've also been a substitute school nurse for this district for about 20 years, and the after-school nurse for 7 years. I'm here tonight because I'd like to talk to Mrs. Mehta. You said last week, I feel every member should have the freedom to exercise their vote without a process where they would have to account for their vote. They should not be made to explain themselves or to justify their decisions. Explain themselves or justify their decision. I'm sorry. Especially at a public in front of everyone. In response to that, Mrs. Mehta, you are a public servant serving South Brunswick's Board of Ed, and with that position comes accountability and transparency. You should have known before calling that attorney for yourself and using him for your, no, I'm sorry, I'm nervous.
It's okay, take a second. Not a problem, not a problem.
You should have known better, being an attorney yourself, using the district attorney for personal use and at my expense, at our school district's expense. Tonight you said that money was worth spending. Does that mean you're paying for that bill yourself? I'm just curious. Or are we paying for it? So, integrity, what is it? Integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. Some similar words include honesty, honor, good character, ethical, moral, truthfulness. All of the above describes what you are not, and the following describes what you displayed at the board retreat. Dishonest, dishonorable, bad character, unethical, lack of moral and truthfulness. The South Brunswick community and school district demands and expects good moral character and integrity of its residents, including the school board members, teachers, and students. Your students are watching you. What kind of example are you setting for all the students of South Brunswick? It is not okay to lie and behave inappropriately. There needs to be consequences for such unethical behavior. You all took an oath of office when you started to serve as school board members, and you need to uphold your oaths. The school board president needs to be held accountable and needs to resign immediately, as there is no room for the lack of integrity and dishonesty. If she doesn't resign, the school board needs to remove her from office immediately to make sure that the honor and integrity of this role is upheld.
Oh, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Tina Schlesinger. I'm Eric's wife, also a resident of Monmouth Junction. Our daughter is a 2021 graduate of South Brunswick. I have a couple of just generic comments after viewing the last few board meetings and the retreat. And I added a few things after hearing Ms. Mehta's statement tonight. So I want to start with what I added, because it just makes sense to lead into the other part. To your points about the board attorney and the use of the board attorney for any member of the Board of Education to reach out to if they have questions about legal matters, I definitely disagree with that concept. I think that the Board of Ed members have a responsibility to the taxpayers of the town to use your resources before you contact the board attorney, who bills at whatever attorney rate per hour. I think you have the responsibility of the taxpayers to talk to each other before you reach out to an attorney to ask for advice. During the board retreat, Ms. Mehta brought up that she called the board, or she thought she called the board attorney about Robert's rules and about the reorganization that had happened already. So Robert's rules is something that you all had access to that prior to this phone call, right? You had been trained on it. You had people on the board, sitting on the Board of Education, that knew Robert's rules and could have explained that. And I don't think that was a good use of taxpayer money to make that phone call. Now, since then, since you've made the statement tonight and posted it on Facebook today, I don't believe that's actually why you called the attorney. And I think my interpretation of why you called the attorney, I believe that that was a personal reason, and I don't believe that it should have been a phone call that you made. I think you should have called your own personal attorney about that if you had questions about how your conduct was appropriate or not appropriate. I don't think that's the taxpayers' money that should be spent on that. So anyway, to the entire Board of Education, I think I'd like to see you consult each other first. Make a group decision about calling the attorney, because the attorney bills us every time you make the phone call. And then they bill us for the time that they research whatever it is you've called about. They bill us for the time that it takes them to respond to it, and then any other follow-up. $2,500 is really quick to spend with an attorney. I know, because I have one at home, okay? So I think you all need to make sure that you're thinking about this going forward, and leaning on the resources that you have first. So obviously, I don't think that's really why you called the attorney. That's kind of beside the point at this point. My other comments, and these are kind of observations from the retreat. Voting. The community has an expectation that you all vote every time, unless there's some extenuating circumstance, which I believe someone brought up at the retreat. So extenuating circumstances, you missed the last meeting and you can't vote on the minutes, right? And that was an example that was used in the retreat. For someone that has been on sitting on a committee that has met for 4 months about transportation, which was a time-sensitive topic, every single one of you should have voted on that with no excuses. So the community elected you all to this position because we want someone to make decisions for our school district. We don't want you to say, I abstain, I recuse myself, whatever the excuse is. You can't do that anymore. You've got to make the decisions that we elected you to come up here and make for us as a community. That's it. Transparency is my last point. A prior speaker mentioned the concept that that there was a statement made that that you don't have to explain yourself. You do have to explain yourself because we elected you to represent us and we want to know your explanation, right? That's the only way we have to vote for people to be on the Board of Education. So we want to hear your thoughts on why you're voting one way or another going forward, all of you. And I know that I'm not calling anyone specifically out. There are two people here that have not explained themselves very well in the last few meetings. And then, you know, the last point is about the direct questioning amongst the board members. Really, you guys, you can't avoid direct questions. You guys need to be a team, right? So if one board member asks you a question, you need to answer it.
Thank you.
That's something that we expect as a
Thank
community.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Hello, good evening. My name is Brianne Lemmerling. I have 2 children in the district for about 8 years now. I'm a South Brunswick resident, business owner, taxpayer, and I vote in all local elections. I recently watched the entire 3-hour recording of the Board of Education retreat, and I must say I was shocked to learn and witness the behavior of this board's president, Mrs. Mehta. I learned Mrs. Mehta repeatedly and secretly sought counsel from the board's attorney, and by doing so incurred a bill of $2,500, which falls on we, the taxpayers, to fund. Perhaps there was a justified reason that she felt she needed to seek counsel, but why do so in secrecy and then lie about it? When questioned if and why she needed to seek counsel, Ms. Mehta danced around the truth, redirected the conversation, and evaded a simple yes or no question dozens of times from dozens of members. It is completely unbelievable that one would not recall if, when, or the subject matter of many hours of discussion and communication with an attorney just 6 weeks prior. When confronted with the board's pointed, straightforward facts, namely the bill sent to the district detailing the contact they had with Ms. Mehta, including the receipt of documents she provided them, she lied repeatedly on public record. In addition to losing all my trust, I was troubled to learn about Ms. Mehta's repeated breaches of board confidentiality, her efforts to stack the deck on the Transportation Task Force, and that by her actions effectively torpedoed the board's bargaining power with the union. She has made decisions and taken actions in her brief and disastrous time as president against Dr. Fetter's cautionary advice, which has caused her to lose her perceived impartiality, her credibility, and her integrity. Worse, during her time as president, she has put the board repeatedly in difficult situations and risks tarnishing the integrity of your entire elected body. Further cause for my concern is her history of abstentions, particularly when major and impactful decisions requiring your vote are on the table. Most notably, votes regarding school closures during the height of COVID and the transportation and school start time debate. It is inconceivable to me that the chair of the Transportation Committee, who led the discussion for 4 months, chose to abstain and waste her vote rather than do her job and help make decisions for our district. May I also direct this concern to Mr. Mitchell, who also abstained from a vote on the Transportation Committee that he was part of. Mr. Mitchell offered a totally unsatisfactory response, which was quite rude and smug when questioned about his wasted vote. Even more troubling is that Mr. Mitchell, the Board of Education Vice President, said nothing the entire meeting in regards to the imploding disaster he was sitting next to. I must say, I support Mrs. Karthik and Dr. Raj, and it seems the rest of the Board of Education members, except for Mrs. Mehta, in their push for transparency. I agree with their call for BOE members to provide comment on their nay, abstention, or recusal vote, even if that comment is no comment. I believe a very brief explanation on their vote would help the public learn why a member chose to vote the way they did and can offer clarity into their thought process. If they choose not to comment, that is their choice, but will likely not foster public trust. Why Ms. Mehta would oppose such an open, honest, and transparent relationship between public and board is beyond me. Many of the members asked the same question and said exactly what I would have said to Mrs. Mehta, but longtime board member Mrs. Rogers hit the nail on the head when she said, "Joyce, I do not believe you anymore. I have lost all trust in you and your position. I have lost trust in the president." End quote. I call for the immediate resignation or removal from Mrs. Mehta from the South Brunswick Board of Education. May I quickly add that I recognize the ripple effects of the change I am calling for. For the record, it is not my desire for Mrs. Mehta's potential resignation to allow Mr. Mitchell to move into the president's role. That is not my endgame, nor a decision I would support. We need leadership with extensive Board of Education experience, a strong voting record, unflinching integrity, and someone who has the full trust of the public they serve. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, my name is Ed Power. I'm a parent of 2 students here in the South Brunswick School District. I was told that...
Excuse me, Mr. Power?
Yeah?
You're going to have to wait until we have the registered speakers first, and then we'll have you come on right after when they're done, okay?
I was told by Mr. Valera I was registered with the secretary. I have an email here if you want to see it.
Up to you.
Mr. Varela?
Varela? Yeah.
The high school principal?
Yeah, he said he put it in for me and that I was okay to speak.
It's up to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please
You're at
continue,
the podium.
Mr. Howard. Please continue.
This isn't for the what you guys have been discussing either.
It's okay. Yeah,
Right,
is this on the agenda, the topic that you want to speak about?
No, I was out of the room when you guys announced this.
Okay, so then this particular time for public comment is on the agenda items only. So if you have a different matter, there'll be another time for public comment later in the evening.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Power.
Thank you.
Well, you'll get a chance, though.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Ian Ho. I live in Kendall Park. I have a child in 7th grade at Crossroads South, and I have a child in 5th grade at Greenbrook. And first to Ms. Karthik, Mr. Krishna, Mr. Keener, Mr. Nathanson, Ms. Raj, Mrs. Rogers, Mr. Scaletti, and the administrative team. I thank you for your continued efforts and persistence to stand for truth and integrity. Please continue to do this so that we, the community, have full transparency in the proceedings and the matters of this board. I would now like to address Mr. Mitchell. Your abstention vote on school start times in February did not offend anyone, as you say, but as the vice president of this board, to say that the vote was, quote, a little too soon for me, quote, unquote, and quote, it didn't matter, unquote, when there had been 4 months of meetings and discussions surrounding this issue is very disappointing. You were voted in by the community who trusted in you to do the job of making decisions on their behalf. Now, how will this community move forward if every tough issue that needs a resolution is simply met with an abstention vote because, quote, I am not sure? You had pledged to bring, quote, and I quote you, more transparency and a willingness to answer the tough questions, unquote. We do not need your half-hearted apologies, but we do need you to strive to do your best for this community and its children. Finally, to Ms. Mehta, you have completely and utterly lost the trust of this entire community and your fellow board members. Your actions since you've been board president have shown a lack in disregard for integrity and honesty. Your actions and speech has brought disunity and discredit upon this entire board. Because of this, I call on you to do the right thing for this community and step down from the role of president of the South Brunswick Board of Education. I cannot imagine a scenario where anything positive gets accomplished for the schools and for the children when the board has to waste hours and hours of time dealing with your evasions of answers, your breaches of confidentiality, your attempts to distract from the conversation at hand, your wasteful spending of taxpayer money, your refusal to be transparent about your votes, and your lack of memory and the inability to call important events. We deserve better than this. The children deserve better than this. So, if you have any shred of integrity and honor left, you will do the right thing and step down, I ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, South Brunswick. Watching that 3 hours of video repeatedly.
Can I get your name?
Your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Beena Mehta, resident of South Brunswick. This is my 18th year in South Brunswick. Repeatedly watched that video for over 3 hours. I took 3 Tylenol's. I don't know what rest of y'all have gone through, at least in last few years, and so everybody over here. Joyce, I'm going to be direct. You and I met almost 10 years ago when this town, neighboring towns were going through a turmoil. We are fighting a battle of Mandarin Immersion Charter School. You came to my house. Probably you were working at Subway or running a Subway. That's what at least you shared with us. You had shown interest to, put your child in that charter school almost 10 years ago. 5 years from now, we saw you sitting on this side. Earlier you would be here. 2 months that you've been on the board, this is where we are. What started as a turmoil in this town, first time in the history, South Brunswick, Westminster, and Plainsboro was seeing a turmoil, and that was because of the charter school which was being planned to open. 2 gentlemen sitting over here, Dr. McCartney and rest of the town came together. We were waiting in the parking lot and we gracefully put the demon out. Who are we going to put out today? Question for you to answer. Everything that has been said by my prior speakers on internet, Facebook, I don't have to add anything more. But look at the words that you have used today, just when we started. Lack of understanding, defense, transparency, regret. Do you honestly believe that the faith that community has put in you, you are in position to lead anybody? The sincere request, a friendly suggestion is going to be inner engineering retreat. Look within, define the goals. Do not put any of us, any of our children through this stress. It's not helping. The world is going through turmoil. You know what you have to do? Something that has been disgraceful, please step down gracefully. That's all I can say. Mr. Mitchell, you sit here as the Vice President of the board. I don't even know what to say to you, because anything that we say, you would say, I did not probably have enough information, lack of information. You, at some point, made a statement that you were very thankful you were in the position where you are in the South Brunswick Board of Education, thankfully to one person. You've said the name of the person, we've all heard and read the name of the person, Ms. Joyce Mehta. We were very happy to welcome you then. We were very happy to welcome all of you then. But look where we are today. Ask yourself, are you in any capacity to tell children,
10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, when history is going to be visited, did you do the right thing? Do you want to do it disgracefully or do you want to do it gracefully? Ask yourself a question. Ms. Karthik, you and I met probably on 23rd of October. 2 minutes, sir. I'm speaking for our community, 2 minutes.
Just letting you know.
We met on 23rd of October. I had already congratulated you. I said, we see a spark and we see a winner. Elections had not happened, but I congratulated you for that. You've been very vocal. Your thoughts and views are very clear. Transparency, culture, these are the things you're promoting. It's very nice. I was observing your videos. But probably somewhere you forgot to ask the question. We all would have been very helpful and, we would have been very thankful if you would have asked the question which rest of your fellow board members, sans Mr. Mitchell, asked. To rest of the team, administrative team, Mr. Superintendent, every other board member over here, I'm personally thankful for fulfilling the vote of confidence that we have put in each of you, and you're putting your best foot forward and have full faith. I believe that you're going to do right thing to put this community and the Board of Education back into the real lighthouse district that we are supposed to be. Gentlemen and ladies, please do the right thing and let South Brunswick be proud for who we really are. Everything else rests. You all know what you have to do. You have legal help and you have all the knowledge. But my sincere request, please do not be more disgraceful. Thank you.
Thank you, Bina.
You're most welcome.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Ferrara. I'm presently a substitute teacher in the district, and I have been for 28 years. I've had many wonderful experiences in this town, and she gave me her spot. She gave me her spot.
Excuse me,
Yes.
I don't have you listed as a registered speaker.
I'm not, but she did offer to give me her spot. So
Right, well, I have to have the registered speakers first, and it has to be with regards to the items on the consent agenda.
I would like to speak on the items. I would like to speak.
Okay, after our registered speakers, please. Thank you. I'm sorry, but I have to follow policy. I have to follow the way meetings run.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Sabah Irfan Shamsi, and I have been living in this school, in this district for almost 2 decades. I retired I am a scientist by training, but I have retired to serve my community. I'm not a political person, but working at the soup kitchen and things like that is the kind of service I do to my community. And South Brunswick is my home. And today, when I saw Ms. Mehta's post on Facebook, I was shook, literally. I mean, I would not expect this kind of behavior from even like a slightly woke middle school student. I have a middle schooler also, and in the past 20 years, we have never had this kind of an issue. Like, what kind of example are we setting? Like, how can I tell my son, don't post something on social media? That's besides what everyone has discussed. Like, the school is supposed to be our safe haven. Like, when the pandemic was raging, communication was from the school, and the way we handled everything was our comfort. We don't have family in this country, but we had the school. I mean, maybe for the other people, it might be different. But for me, this is home. Ms. Mehta, you are attacking my home. Seriously. I'm like shook. How can we have this kind of behavior? Like, I have served on so many boards. not of this level, yeah, small school boards, you have to have your best behavior because children are looking up at you. Parents are looking up at you. And I just am getting so emotional. I don't want to say anything that could be hurting to anyone. It's not personal. I respect you a lot, all of you. There have been times that, yeah, we have had not actions which were very conducive to what we had, but we never saw anything like this. A divided board, like, what is this? Like, what are we teaching? Where are our ethics? And what does even being on a board mean? What does being on a board mean? Like, you are compromising the sanctity of the board, talking like that on Facebook. We all need peace. Instead of focusing on our children, like, students are lagging. There are middle school students and high school students that need, mental health support, emotional support. And here, I think we adults are not doing our job. And I expect more from you, especially you, Ms. Mehta. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shamsi. Thank you.
At this time, I'll ask for any other registered speakers. Do we have any other registered speakers? So anybody else making public comment at this time, the comments have to be with regards to consent agenda items.
Dave, are you speaking? Yes. You're registered, Dave.
All right. So we have Dave. I'm sorry, you will get to speak. I just need to get the registered speakers first. Thank you.
Thank you. David Ciccone. I live in South Brunswick. I lived here for well over 25 years. I have 2 boys. One graduated in college. I have one as a senior here, and I have a daughter who's a freshman. I try not to get as involved as I am right now because I find that this board is very competent, and it has been, especially with Mr. McCartney here. I mean, this is a symbol of what this...
Doctor.
Dr. Parker. Doctor, I'm sorry. Apologize. But this is a symbol of why I've always felt that I didn't have to really get involved because I knew the board was looking after my family's better behalf. After watching Ms. Mehta's behavior, not only her behavior, but her repetitive lies, it makes me very, very concerned that Mr. Fetter had to sit there with a piece of paper after paper after paper and prove himself. That is not what we're paying Mr. Fetter for. He has a hard enough job as it is, and honestly, you should be ashamed of yourself that literally he had to have everything in a special spot, in a special place to rebut your lies, and it's unacceptable. Second thing, I find it very odd. We had an hour of comments here, and not one person was here in your support. Not one. And that should be a real eye-opener to you that people and the residents of South Brunswick are requesting that you do step down and do it gracefully. Third thing, Mr. Mitchell. I have no background. I went and watched the video, and I watched Lisa Rogers unbelievably speak up, and thank you, Lisa, because I probably wouldn't have been able to handle it, even though you kept your cool as best as you can, but it showed how passionate you are for our community, and I want to thank you for that. But what scares me is that you just sat there, and I said, why is this gentleman sitting there? And I watched the whole thing, and I said, there's a board president sitting there lying, and you didn't open your mouth. So then I went on, and I found out you nominated her, and that is really sad. I had no bias. I was in support of everyone on this board. But when I have to go in and do my own detective work, it's very sad. So I also am asking for you to step down, because as you heard, there are other people that support that agenda. And last but not least, I find it very sad that we have a student here who sits on this board that has to sit here for over an hour of two board members that aren't going to sit and Do what's responsible for our township. It is unacceptable. And also, Ms. Mehta, if you haven't noticed, that was the first comment on your post. And I always will be, because you need to step down. It's unacceptable. And I'm glad that I had the most likes in that entire post, and there's a reason why. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again. Okay.
Name and address, please.
My name is Julie Ferrara. I live at 54 Stillwell Road, Kendall Park, New Jersey. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I realize that running a school district is like steering a grand cruise ship, and I really thank each and every one of you for the work that you've done. South Brunswick schools are great schools. I'm on the inside day in and day out. I see the good, the bad, the wonderful, and the ecstasy of great learning. So I do thank you for the hard work that you all put in. It's been difficult these past few days. I think we're living in difficult times, which makes it even more difficult when we have to encounter these kinds of things that are happening. I'm a lone wolf here, so just bear with me. To our district superintendent, Mr. Fetter, and all the board members, I stand here tonight somewhat baffled by the most recent board meeting on March 3rd. The tone and the content of this meeting were displayed for all of our community to see, and it did not present a professional governing board at all. Tonight, I would like to congratulate you, Ms. Mehta, on your assignment as board president. I have had personal issues this past year, and I have not had the chance to say congratulations to you on this honor. You have worked hard for this school district, and I can unequivocally say that I believe you are well equipped for this position. I have known Joyce for about 5 years. Her demeanor is always respectful and private. When elected to the board position, she engaged herself with hard work and determination to make this school district a top-notch district. Even though I have only seen Ms. Mehta a handful of times in those 5 years, I was always impressed by her dedication. When I was considering a run for the Board of Education myself in a prior election, not this last one, she was very clear-cut and gave me valuable advice on running. Even though I chose not to run that year, her insights with me were very valuable when I ran for Board of Ed last November. The last time I saw Ms. Mehta was at a district function which was held to raise awareness on women's issues. There was a walk involved, and Ms. Mehta was on the board liaison for this commission. Her professionalism was once again stellar, and I was impressed by the cohesion of the event. If there were questions about what has transpired, I sincerely hope that you will seek a private meeting to resolve these problems, for it is difficult on this district. It really tainted my view of the district staff and the board members from that evening. Ms. Mehta did not even get the chance to publicly defend herself. I'm a faithful employee of South Brunswick for 28 years. I love the schools, but I've never seen such a sloppy transfer of presidential power in my life. I do hope that you all can resolve these differences without any more carnage. And I do believe that Ms. Mehta only has had the goal of making South Brunswick schools a top-notch school district in New Jersey. She really does care about our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ferreira. Thank you. So,
excuse me, at this time, do we have any other people who want to speak with regards to consent agenda items?
Hello, Chris Resnick, Kendall Park. Two things. I've been sitting here listening to everybody speak, and I've been watching Ms. Mehta's face. She's been sitting here making faces at people, at comments that she doesn't particularly like. So when you watch the video back, pay attention. And my second question is, are we going to hear from the board attorney tonight? Because we'd all like to hear what she has to say with regard to what took place at the retreat.
Sessions for public comment, we can't discuss with regards to what the agenda will bring, but at that, we'd have no comment for that. You have to stick around.
Thank you, Ms. Resnick.
Mr.
Do we have any other public comment with regards to consent agenda items? Mr. Robinson.
Oh, hey.
It's been a long time, and I've been Arthur Robinson, 37 Russet Road, Kendall Park. I've been gone, a long time, and I'm working on my library and things like that. The only thing I just want to say to my fellow members on the board, I was on the board, as you know, this is my 32nd year in the township. And prior to getting on the board, I was active sitting out here before I sat up here for 12 years and stuff like that. And the main thing that I want to say is I've heard throughout the night where we were talking about Lighthouse District. And it troubles me because you guys as members of the board collectively, Madam President and members of the board, you're keepers of the light. I'm a former naval officer, so when I say keepers of the light, what I mean is that you're the one collectively must keep that light going so the ship of state or the ship of education is sailed properly with Dr. Federer at the helm. And then the officers of the deck will be, you guys are officers of the deck. And then there's other seamen making sure that that ship stays on course. So what I want to say is what I truly hope and desire is that you guys work out whatever's going on. I'm not going to reflect back on January 6th. I'm not going to reflect back on January 12th or March 3rd or anything else like that. I just basically want to just see you go forward and do the right thing for the kids because we were all elected for the kids. That's the main thing. And if you get off course, like a lady spoke earlier about, the kids just coming out of COVID in terms of their education, falling behind seniors, juniors, special ed, people with economic problems. So that's my dream, is to see you all become cohesive and then just think of the kids and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment on consent agenda items only? Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Plowski. So the next on the agenda is the consent agenda review and the walkthrough. Mr. Plowski, any comments?
Our consent agenda this evening was lighter than usual. We have on the agenda the typical bills list, a withdrawal from maintenance reserve for a project and approve a contract agreement. We also have a new vendor that's a prevention specialist. They're going to work with us. We have a tentative school district budget that I'm sure everybody here will stick around for the presentation. That's later on this evening. It's great stuff. We have a parental transportation route that we're approving. We have an increase in a not to exceed with regards to a transportation route that has become more expensive. We have a Ford pickup truck that's going up on Gov Deals for sale, and we're approving that tonight. We also have a second reading and adoption of some policies, some student field trips, and we're ending with a resolution for our travel-related expenses, and then we also have, lastly, an approval of our harassment, intimidation, and bullying report that's provided by the superintendent. Ending with personnel. That ends your consent agenda review.
Thank you, Mr. Plowski. Moving on, are there any questions about the consent agenda? No? Seeing none. Moving on to old business. There are 4 items here listed on old business, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Feder.
So one of the first item on here is the retreat follow-up. At the retreat, it was tabled, the discussion of legal. Tonight, our board attorney is here, and I will share that our Board of Education, while in executive session, there's something called privilege when you have an attorney. And the board has the right to waive privilege so that the attorney can speak in public. And the board did vote to do that tonight. So our attorney will be available to answer questions not posed by the public, posed by the board, and to share. She's not going to give, our attorney, by the way, is Kerry Wright, Porzio and Bromberg and Newman. I'm just going to start with a couple of things, if we could. If you could maybe go, if that'd be all right.
Good evening, everyone.
I'd like to ask the board to take a recess. 15 minutes? 15 minutes?
Okay. Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rogers. Any nays? Any abstentions? All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
15 minutes.
15.
Okay, moving on to new business.
My recommendation at this moment is
To amend the agenda.
we're going to amend the agenda. So just someone can make this motion. I'm not really allowed to make any motions. But someone needs to amend the agenda to move us to the new business presentation, which we will do very quickly.
I make a motion to move to new business.
Second. Well, actually, Joyce, you have to ask.
Motion by Mrs. Rogers, seconded by Mr. Krishna. Any nays? Any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'm going to do it.
All right, everybody. I'm going to cut to the chase on this.
I'd like to thank everybody tonight for being here for this wonderful presentation on the budget.
So far.
Thank you. Thank you, South Brunswick, for turning
That's
out
our
for
BA.
this.
Give him a round.
Yes. Finally got myself an audience. Take it, Mr. Fetter.
All right, I'll take it now. Look at the line that says 22, 23. We got that today from the state.
Big cuts.
That's, if you can't read that far, it's minus $1.74 million in state aid. That's the end of my budget presentation. That's it. So, when this happens, and it's happened before, who was at any of the S2 meetings? Anybody at any of the S2 meetings? Me. Thank you, one of you, for coming. Appreciate it. Basically, what we've looked at over time is what happens to a district when you look at the numbers. Now, look at just go to 2018-19. You see that number was 24.9, almost $25 million. Look at 23-24's projection, 18.9. Now, that's about what, 6 mil? So for 6 mil, you just try to think of, well, how can you get 6 million back? Well, school districts are not businesses. We can't raise the prices to get it. In fact, we are under law to not be allowed, not be able to ask taxpayers for more than a 2% increase on what's called the tax levy. But look at this. And this is the part that drives us administrators crazy. We are looking at average home prices in this town, and you're probably all laughing like those aren't realistic. You're like, please tell me that's not the value of my home. I understand that. But for assessed value is very different than actual value. You kind of like that the assessed value is low, and you kind of want to keep it a secret. Shh, don't tell anybody. But right now it's saying that in South Brunswick, the average home is worth $200,000. And here's the good news. We're going to raise the amount of money the schools need next year by 2%. It's about 2.3 mil, Dave?
Yep.
So about $2.3 million, we're going to increase spending for next year, about $2.3 million. And for that, if your home is currently assessed at $200,000, you're going to see, hold your seats, you're getting $2.60 back. That's a year, by the way, folks. If your house is worth more, you get more back. Now you would say, well then just give us a little bit more than the 2% and then we can kind of solve the 1.7 million problem. Nope, not allowed. Nope. So the rules in the state of New Jersey are you can raise the taxes 2%, but you cannot do anything more. So if you look at this number, we have a tax levy. That's the number that the 2% comes off. That means we can raise taxes by 2.335 mil. Look what happened. The state aid is dropping by 0.174. That means we're netting at the end of the day with increasing our extraordinary aid, adding some more money to something called fund balance. We added some money to some tuition, added some money to miscellaneous, and all those numbers, Dave's not going to like this, but what he does, he makes the numbers at the end work. The good news is every year we're in great shape. Part of what's not on our budget, but what you should know, is this year we're doing about how much, David, in work to get these buildings in shape? 11 mil?
Correct. Yeah,
so we're spending 11 million of your money. You're like, well, don't do that. No, you want us to do that. You want us to keep these buildings in outstanding condition and shape. You want us doing that. But you don't want to do it at a cost. So what we do every year is David is a master saver. He's the son we all wanted, who learned how to save as a little child. Yeah. And then he grew up, and he still knows how to save. It's pretty incredible, actually.
But I still can't get my wife to do that at home. So tell me how.
Dave, no wife jokes, please.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Trace, if you're watching.
So at the end of the day, we're sitting here, and that bottom right number is a $1.133 million of new money. You're like, well, Scott, we're giving you another 1.1 million. That should help you out. Yeah, no, does not help me out too much. Because to operate next year, to do exactly what we're doing this year, we really need about, I don't know, maybe $4 million. So, come on, go. This is what we do. This is how we function in schools. It's called deficit model budgeting. That means we are constantly, year in and year out, looking to do exactly what we did the year before with less money the next year. Just think of that. Think of that concept. We have to figure out a way to do exactly what we're doing in year 2 that we were doing in year 1, but with less money. Does that sound reasonable? No, somehow we do it. And the way I know you do it is I don't remember the last time we cut something in this district that has made the news at all. Nothing, not one thing. In fact, all we've done is add services for our kids every single chance we get. Now, if you were at or watched the February 24th meeting, you watched us talk about transportation. And you watched us talk about something we had to do, wasn't pleasant, didn't like having to do it. We had to move the schools in a way that made it so we didn't have to spend a new $2 million. Now imagine right now if we had to spend $2 million more on just transportation to transport kids. It's not really doable. So at the end of the day, we manage this. And the reason this is happening is we've been identified as what is affectionately known as an S2 district. The worst two letter and a number you can put together, an S and a 2. What that means is the state has determined that you guys don't pay enough in taxes. Who agrees? No, Dave, no one agrees with me. The state has said, the reason we're taking, just think of this logic, the reason we're taking your money is you guys don't pay enough in taxes. That's the reason they're taking the money. Is that right, Dave?
Correct.
And so then we said, all right, well, then let us take more money. No, they can't do that. That is the reality of South Brunswick's budget. Now, last year, we were slated to lose $2.1 million. And on the day of like this last year, they only took $250,000. We thought we were like, we were in la-la land. We were expecting to lose $2.1 million. This year, we absolutely, until today, had no idea what was going to happen. We ran this blind today. Now, if we would have told, they would have told us that you just flat, meaning the amount of money in state aid they gave you last time is the amount of money they're going to give you this time, we were ready. If we would have come into next week, tomorrow, with 21,488 like we were in 21-22, which is this year, we would be presenting this wonderful budget with everything's fine and there's no worries. We got you covered. Now what we have to do, since this is really only hours old, we have to go back, work with our administration, and find $1.7 million in stuff to take out of the budget to make sure it balances. That's the work we have now. So our next budget presentation will talk about how we're going to balance the budget. And let me just show a few more things. So you see this Pac-Man, the big Pac-Man guy? This big Pac-Man guy says that big Pac-Man is you. That's the public. You're paying 80% of how much it costs to run the school district. In a district like, let's take like a Trenton or a Newark, an inner city district, that Pac-Man is probably like one of those little pieces up top. Yep. The local does not pay that much. It's almost all state aid. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Local next door neighboring districts getting more money. South Brunswick is not. Does anyone remember why? Anyone remember why is South Brunswick not getting more money? Because what? This man is correct. He does not pay enough taxes. David, get his number. Because the community, because the township has done such an amazing job, and I will give the school credit for keeping taxes low, our tax rate is still one of the lowest in the county. Meaning you're still not getting taxed. Who wants to fix that? That's a good problem. Let's keep that problem. But to keep that problem, the state has determined how it's going to treat districts like that. There's about 100 of us. There's about 100 districts like us, and we're not even close to the worst. Old Bridge right now just lost $3.5 million more after losing about $5 million every year for the last 4 years. Horrible. And nothing they can do, nothing we can do. We can fight, we can argue. I will give a good shout out to Andrew Zwicker. He talked to us last year, and he was able to get us $1 million above this money, but solely to use for fixing HVAC equipment in the schools, which was great. So we are actually doing a large project at both the middle schools this year to get their HVAC up and running. Are we doing windows?
No, not
next year's windows.
Next summer.
The next year's windows, HVAC in both those buildings. We have so many great projects happening. So your money is being spent well, but it doesn't solve the problem and the reality that we still kind of need to deal with this. So all I can ask of the board and the community is you got to give us another couple of weeks. We need time to do this correctly. We're really good at it. I will praise our administrative team. We're really good at this. We are going to do our best to make sure our kids don't feel it. That's what we try to do, and they haven't felt it yet. We do everything possible to make sure they don't feel it. That means all kinds of things. And one of the things that we just did, that transportation, was $2 million. It's $2 million. I like when Clyde's in the audience. I like to pick on Clyde when he's here. Clyde, how old are our buses? Yeah, about how old? How old are most of them? Within the last how many years? 2011. Yeah, 5 years. Because that guy over there, that BA guy, that big saver over there, what he does, he makes sure he keeps our kids safe. Clyde, of course, makes sure they're really safe. And make sure that we're not spending more than we need to spend. That's a place that right now, if districts are not looking at their transportation, next year they're in for a world of hurt. So again, kudos to the Transportation Committee and to Dave, to our mechanics, to our bus drivers for doing an amazing job and getting us to where we need to be for next year. We're excited. And I think we just hired 6 or 7 new drivers. How about that? So a lot of good, but unfortunately the state came in and kind of just did not do a good job for our Cheerios today. So this is what they sent us. Look at this number. This is a beautiful document. I hang this on my wall. It says, we really want you to be down to, look at that bottom number in the left-hand column. We really want you to be around 16 million in state aid. That's an $8.8 million drop over that 6-year period. We have no idea right now where we stand on this. Do you understand how frustrating that is? It's kind of like having a job and not having any clue where you're going to get paid that month. You hope it's good, but you really don't know. That's what we live with right now. Yet still, I know I'm repeating myself because I like the sound of it when I say this, we're not going to hurt kids. That's the bottom line. We might have to do some things that are not fun or pleasant, but we're not going to let it get to the kids. 1.7 million is a lot of money. But our people will band together, they will rally, and they will figure this out. So I'm not doing my draconian death march speech. I did that a few years ago. I'm not there today. I'm feeling that it'll hurt a little, but we're going to make it work. Just some other numbers to look at that we went over a little bit there. You went over that. So again, what you need to know, here's Rocky, you're paying less next year. You should not be paying less. You and I have to talk after this, but you should not be paying less. But you're paying less. In fact, you just hope your home is valued more so you can pay less than the other guy. That's what we're facing. And this is a credit to this town, or the value. Why this happened, I'm not going to get into a whole speech on this, but why this is happening is the value of the town has risen. That's right. And that causes what's called rateables to keep your taxes down. I'd love to take credit for this, though. Actually, no, it was my fault that this is happening. I did this all by myself. It was me. It really is not the school district that determines this. But I can tell you this, if those rateables stop moving and we have to raise taxes by 2%, then we're all going to feel it. So we've been all very blessed in our township that the value of the town continues to rise and that they're not changing the assessed value. Maybe your house. What's your address? All right. I don't know. But I talk about the tax rate. If you look down there, we're like all the way towards the bottom. I think we're 6 from the bottom. South Brunswick is a 2.04. And this is called an equalized rate. It's not exactly the tax rate, but what they do is they factor in a whole bunch of things. There's a little note about how they do it. But what you do is you want to be at the bottom of this list. You want to be at the bottom. I think we were even lower than this in certain years, but the number hasn't fluctuated very much at all. So if you could look the difference between us at a 2.04 versus like a 2.01, 3 down, it's not much of a difference. So it really showing the town, the school district doing very well with how we spend money and how that gets impacted into families. And that's good, because right now we don't want any more than that. Let's see, I want to go back. This is not working so great today. Hold on a minute. I want to just show you something that we have to deal with as well. Sorry. So when we do this, one of the most important things that we do when we budget, and if you want to ever talk to us about budget, actually Dave and I are both kind of geeky about it, so feel free. If you want the technical version of the budget, that's David. If you want to talk like layman's term, that's me. If you ask me technical questions, I'm going to tell you, hold on a second, I'm going to put David on the phone, and then he'll answer your questions for you. But we really care about transparency and honesty in spending. We do what we can to be really clear about what we're going to spend it on, why it's being spent that way. The board can ask us anything they want, whenever they want. Community can ask us whatever they want. If you look at the second bullet, we do not want to interfere with those things. I can tell you, finding $1.7 million is really easy if you just cut out extracurricular activities. Piece of cake. If you don't care about sports, if you don't care about music, easy enough. I can find $1.7 million like that. Really simple. What is our number, Dave? We spend about $900,000 on stipends.
Correct.
So we pay staff $900,000 a year to make sure they're doing great things for kids, above and beyond their salaries, above and beyond everything. Never change that. Wouldn't mind if that was doubled with more activities and options for kids. That's what we like to do. We want to be clear with you, and of course, look what we have to do right now. I added that in this afternoon. Recent gas price impact on purchasing.
Thank you.
We all know what's going to happen. It's not only the gas that's more. If anyone watched, I think I was watching we had Channel 4 on this morning, and a trucker was filled up his tank. Anyone want to guess how much he spent?
$1,000.
Just shy of $1,000. So if a trucker, that was your truck? But I mean, it's going to hit us because it hits you on your purchasing. Surcharges, that's what's going to start happening. We're probably right around the corner from surcharges right now. And that's going to affect so Jen, wave Jen, say hi. Jen buys our books. So they're going to come at her, I'm sure, and they're going to say, yeah, you get the books. But that 10% we already charge you for shipping, it ain't going to be 10%. Not if this keeps going. We're going to have to try and come up with creative ways to figure all these things out. But we can't pretend it's not going to hit us. What do they say? Inflation's about 7%? Is that about right? What is it? 7.9%? We have 2% to play with, minus 1.7 million, right? That's schools. But everyone knows, right? Are we going to hurt kids? Are we going to hurt kids? No. That was very lame. Are we going to hurt kids? No. You need to be louder, sir. You're not paying much in taxes. So this is pretty much our situation. I went through this concept with you already. It's a crazy concept. We will get through it, all of these things. And at the end of the day, I am excited to be able to say that, you know, it's not a great situation. We don't know what's coming down the pike next year. Your taxes are not going to be going up this year for at least the 5th year in a row, because they haven't gone up since I've been here. So that's at least 5 years. And we're still proud of what we do. And this all matters to us and everyone up there. And I know it matters to people out there and your kids. So Dave, I hope I got through most of it. Right. I did my miniature version of it, but do you have anything that I didn't get through you want to say?
Any questions on the technical aspects, if you need to contact me, it's scottfeder.sbschools.org.
Good job. I never liked him.
Scott.Feder.
Don't forget the dot. He's the BA. Nobody likes the BA. It's okay. All right. So I think that's it, Dave, for me. Yep. But do we want to ask some questions from the board? Mr. Nathanson.
Yeah. Reading what the governor put out and everybody's numbers today, there was some additional money for some additional stuff like kindergarten and that. Did we get any of the additional money on top of the cut or no?
Oh, no. We got not a lot of money at all. We got nothing yet. We just lost to 1.7 million.
Okay, so did the other districts get that yet? He was talking about other things included into his supposed increase.
Yeah, he did. I think he increased the state school budget by quite a bit of money.
Right.
Just forgot about 100 districts.
He mentioned extra aid for kindergarten, nursery, something.
There's a preschool expansion aid.
Correct.
We have to see about that.
Okay. Thank you.
It's nice to get preschool expansion aid if you have a place to put preschoolers. But it's a tricky thing with that, so we have to see.
Just a very quick question. The cuts that we just received, or let me clarify that. The document that we got from the state regarding all state aid, is that finalized? Because I know last year it was all over the place, up and down, changes, not, more money, less money. Is this final, or is this still, do you think, in your estimation, we're going to be seeing that again?
At this time, for the current budget, this is our state aid.
Okay. The one number that's not known, but in reading his budget presentation, he did say that he was keeping the same amount of money in extraordinary aid as he did last year. So that's why Dave was able to adjust that a little bit in this year's budget. Because we're, as long as we get what we got last year, that number holds up.
Okay. Let's move on.
Be able to help us this time around?
I don't think we can hear.
Oh, sorry. Will Senator Zwicker be able to help us around this time?
We're going to try. Barry has already reached out to Senator Gopal and Senator Zwicker. He's now Senator Zwicker, not Assemblyman Zwicker, to ask them what's going on, basically. But I want to thank Barry for putting that out. And that's kind of where we are. I mean, right now we can ask, but there's 100 districts all in the same boat. They did get, some of the districts last year did get some aid back. I haven't heard of where that is now. Dave, have you heard anything about that?
Not at this time. The projected cut for next year comes from me running the algorithm with regards to how they determined our cut this year. So if everything stays the same in the formula, then we can pretty much assure that that would be our cut for next year. But again, they change the formula every year, and it's a crapshoot.
They literally change the formula of how they determine this every year.
Right. So.
Yep. It's crazy. Dave, do you want to go over with everybody the formula?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Yes. I was just kidding, people. Don't worry. Don't worry.
It's good.
Any other questions?
Tentative budget. We'll have our final budget presented in March, in April. Beginning first week in April. Okay. And we'll be able to provide for
remember,
the public.
that's a tentative.
Right. This is the tentative. But then the final is in April. And we'll vote on that and lock it into place in April. Come back a couple times, do some cuts, work with our budget committee, present one more time, and then be good.
Yeah. Anything else?
Is there any possibility of that number changing 1.7? Has that ever happened in the past?
Yeah, no, it hasn't, but I don't think it'll go down. I mean, if somehow the senators jump in or somebody jumps in to help us, then we might get a chance to get more. But I would not predict it to go down, which is, I guess that's some solace in that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out for the budget presentation this evening, as David said.
Thank you all for being here. Pleasure. Did she tell you why Did she tell you why? She left.
You're president now.
So
today.
Why don't you?
What part of the?
Just for the meeting, you got to step up.
Well, I understand. I understand that, but I need to know where to start now.
So, as of right now, I don't know what you wanted her to read. Where did she leave off?
Just,
Can I make a motion?
Wait.
No, we need to either cover the old business. We have not gone through that all, and I don't think we are. This is my own personal opinion. I would actually like to make a motion to move the old business, the retreat follow-up, number 2, board committees, number 3, chain of command, and number 4, communication, to old business for the next meeting. I would like to make that motion.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Mrs.
Rogers.
I'm sorry. This is totally
It's
unexpected.
okay. Yeah.
This is totally unexpected. So
Yeah, it's
you have to bear along with me.
Yeah, give him a chance. Yeah.
So Mrs.
Motion by
Rogers
Mrs. Rogers.
and seconded by Mr. Keener.
Well, aye. Say aye.
And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Thank
This
you.
is to keep the old business
In
agenda
old
the same.
business, correct. We'll move it to the next one.
New business.
Okay.
Now we'll cover new business.
No, it just did.
There's none of this.
That was done.
Expected. It's okay.
I have right here. Thank you. Okay, now on to new business. There's none at this time, so we want to go to action items.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to approve the consent agenda of March 10th, 2022. Roll call, Mr. Pulowski.
Oh, Mrs. Deepa Karthik. Mr. Raja Krishna.
Yep.
Mr. Ray Keener.
Yes.
Mr. Mike Mitchell.
Yes.
Dr. Smitha Raj.
Yes. Oh, here.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti.
Yes.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Yes.
Joe Smith is absent.
You have to
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're on to board committee and liaison reports. Are there any at this time? Yes.
Yes, Mr. President. We met as a facilities committee on Monday, the 7th. Ms. Lisa Rogers was there, Dr. Smith Raj, myself, Brian Redfield, David Pulaski. We went over things for facilities throughout the year, our upcoming projects for the summer. We talked about the bids that came in. We're happy to report that what we budgeted for the new HVAC for North and South actually came in a little under budget. So we are ready to go with our summertime projects. We're going to be doing roofs throughout the district and a couple other projects as well. So that was our report.
Thank you for that.
Excuse me, sorry for interrupting, but can
No.
No, we can't comment. We have to continue with the business, but.
Keep the meeting moving.
There is another public speaking option at the end.
Okay, can I have?
Yeah, I have a report, Mr. President. As liaison or member of the New Jersey School Board Association Legislative Committee, I sent you guys the package of the recent meeting. Excuse me. At the recent meeting, Senator Gopal was there. He's a senator from Monmouth County. He is now the Senate chair of the Education Committee. So like Mr. Fetter said, I sent him a note with our Senator Zwicker. I also had a conversation with our new Assemblywoman Jaffa, who happens to be a member of the Education Committee. So they are going to look into our numbers because there are, if you see the numbers on NJ.com, has every number in the whole state. There's a lot of people that got, a lot of towns that got a lot of money. And it's not, so the governor said that he increased the education budget, but he didn't obviously increase it for the majority of the state, unfortunately. So that's where we're at right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nathanson, for that report. Any other reports? Yes.
So the curriculum committee met on February 23rd. Present was myself, Joyce, Smitha, Raja Krishna, Jennifer Scott, and, Dr. Disler, and Mr. Fetter. Just a quick update. We talked about the Career Academies, updated the board on the application process and the setup of the Career Academy SATE. Very pleased to say that we had about 65 kids apply for the Career Academies, and unfortunately 7 did not get admitted for various reasons, which I won't go into. Currently, so we have about 55 students. We're very excited about this. Computer science in the 21st century, there are going to be 208 ninth graders who have requested this course, 30 more than last year. So we're adding one more section. So we're very pleased about that. Social study curriculum, as you all know, we've been reviewing it. It's under the 5-year plan. We've shared the plan for a May stakeholder review of new updates to the curriculum. We're going to include a new resource for elementary and middle school, immersion into the curriculum, and share a perspective. Also shared about U.S. history in the high school and how it is moving to theme-based. So instead of what it'll be is the theme of each part of U.S. history versus the timeline. So it'll be a little bit more robust. Summer Institute, there was some questions about that, and there were actually answers on those we've tried to address, I believe, Jen, the people that had questions on Summer Institute. And on ELL, we have our 3-year plan, mentioned that it is being approved, or it was approved actually, on the 24th, and it's a compliance-based plan. And we are also moving along with the new mandate that came from Governor Murphy, where he signed a bill to recognize Asian Americans in New Jersey's K-12 curriculum. Jen shared that with us, and we are still waiting on the regulations. And then once we get the regulations in order, we'll be adding that to our curriculum. I made a comment to the committee members about the dates of the committee that we were going to look at. I shared it with the team. I think at this point, we're going to hold on those dates until we have a more robust communication and discussion around the curriculum dates. So stay tuned for when we will have our next meeting. Thank you, Mr. President. Vice President. Sorry. Any other? Anything else?
Any other reports? I'm sorry. None. Being said, this time I would like to call for a special meeting of the board to happen either Monday or Tuesday of next week concerning what took place tonight. I just need, yes.
I will be out of town Monday through Wednesday night. I'll be back.
Time Wednesday?
I land at midnight. So I'll be home at 1:30. We could do it then.
We'll start at 1:30?
I'm game for that.
Is this public, may I question? Is this an executive session or public? Public meeting.
Hours notification.
And what's the date and time we're looking at?
Anything next week?
That's okay.
And I need to take a poll. So right now, we have Thursday as a.
Can you just give me a second, please?
St. Patrick's Day, so.
Oh, that's a no. That's my husband. He'll kill me.
Let's check out, everyone check out calendars if you can.
Next Thursday is the 17th?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's a
No,
no.
I can't do Thursday either.
Can we do it on the 16th or no? Because of
What
time.
does Tuesday look like?
Tuesday's okay for me, but Joe can't make Tuesday.
Can I zoom in?
Can we do it hybrid?
Just
for.
Okay. I'm on a 3-hour delay.
Where, oh.
I'm in Vegas.
He's in Vegas.
Oh.
Yeah, really. I'm working. It's work. Relax.
What time are we doing this?
Just need a quorum.
At night
What
or?
time can you guys, listen, we're shooting from the hip here. What time can we work this out?
Can you
6
shut me
o'clock?
off?
Make it 6.
Just everybody.
Tuesday.
Just realize it's an emergency meeting. We just need a quorum.
Yeah, but I
6
think
or
everybody's going to
6:30
want to be present.
Is what I'm proposing.
We just need a quorum. That's fine. I'm good then.
We just need a form.
That's all. I'm good.
He could zoom in for that.
So then make it 7. Smith can make it at 7.
7 p.m. Tuesday, the 15th?
7 to Tuesday.
You guys okay?
Does everyone agree?
Are you okay with that, Raj?
Right, Roger, yes?
Yes, they're good.
Deepa? Ray?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Are you good, Dave?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yes.
Yes. Barry?
Yes.
Smita?
Yes, 7 p.m.
Sorry, you can stay with me?
Okay.
Is anything going to be
If
mentioned?
you're lucky, I'll do another budget presentation.
Chad, are you going to mention?
Where's my friend? You're invited. Bring your checkbook.
You got public comments.
Susan, bring him up. We need 1.7 million. Just come with cans of soup, something.
Yes, yes. So we'll meet Tuesday at 7 o'clock for our special meeting here at Crossroads. Or no, where are we going to meet?
Right here.
Right here at Crossroads North. Okay, thank you. At this time, we're moving along to public comments. You have a second opportunity for public comments on any topic. Do we have any registered voters?
No registered. No registered.
No registered. No registered.
Okay, so you can step to the.
Just make your way to the microphone.
Just 1 second, Christine. Is Ed Power here?
He's not. I had a conversation with Ed. He left. Everybody, just be aware. This is public comment. You can ask us questions, but we may not be able to respond based on the content of the question. But just know that before we all get started.
Can you please just explain to people who are not really familiar with what just transpired and why there's a special meeting, just for people who don't really understand?
Scott?
Yeah, well, I'd be one of those people that doesn't really understand.
I've never seen.
Okay.
This is truly an unprecedented situation where I've never been a part of anything like this before, so I couldn't be able to comment on that either.
Okay, so we're tabling the situation from the retreat again, and this is what the special meeting will be entailing. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
This is a very informal meeting.
This is crazy.
Again, a question. So are we going to be making all those comments again?
Yes.
I mean, honestly, we are confused. Mr. Feder, we are not used to this.
I can
he's
say,
the expert.
I can say, I didn't make you come out tonight, Bina. Just kidding. But I honestly just say our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday at 7.
There's got to be public comments, isn't
There'll be public comment, of
There'll be
course.
public
It's a board meeting.
It'll be a normal meeting in terms of agenda.
Wonderful. Surprises again. Thank you.
This is not an open forum, people.
Yeah, please state your name, address, and as unprecedented as this is, let's please keep a level of decorum so I can maintain the minutes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Eric Schlesinger, Monmouth Junction. I just have a point of clarification. The board took a recess with an open agenda item. The board came back from recess and never addressed that open agenda item. There was no motion made. There was nothing to say. It was skipped over. So I think for purposes of board decorum, protocol, whatever, I think the board kind of has to act in a certain manner, which may also give the public that's here a general inkling of what's going on. I leave it up to you. I'm just saying, pointing it out that there's an open action item that was skipped over, no motion was made, and I think it has to be addressed so the minutes are complete. Thank you.
Yeah. What we did, Eric, is we just tabled the 4 items.
Yeah, I could table it if you want.
We did a motion to table the old business.
That wasn't.
There was a motion made to take the old business agenda items and put them on our next board
The
meeting's
retreat
agenda.
follow-up and the other 3.
No, I understand that, but that wasn't actually under old business. That was with legal communication in which the board presented that they were going to have the board attorney be available for public questioning. I see the board attorney has left, so obviously you can't do that. So I think, again, I'm not here to criticize the board. I just think something needs to be done to address that open issue.
Yeah, so
that's all.
So the best I can tell you, Eric, is that was part of the retreat follow-up.
Okay.
And that motion wound up being tabled after it was opened.
Okay. Very good. As long as there's a record of it.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's right.
Good evening, everyone. Lori Angermeyer, Kendall Park, 3 kids, sophomore, 8th grader, 6th grader, high school, and 2 at South. I actually was going to say the same thing as the gentleman before me, so he took that. It's okay.
I just want to say tonight, I've been to many, many, many board meetings. Tonight was an actual circus. I've never seen anything like this before from our board, from our town. It's disturbing. And for those that, maybe watch in the rerun in a couple days and aren't watching now, our president, Mrs. Mehta, walked up and left the meeting with nothing to say to anybody. And I think several board members had a surprised look on their face because I was watching. Other than that, that's about it. I hope going forward that everyone that is here can work together to do what's right for our school district and our community. I have, I guess, questions as to who will be the new president. Is there going to be election for president amongst the board members? And is there going to be an open seat, and how will that be filled going forward? Because we actually don't know if Joyce is completely done or what. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I just have to say this. This is Saba Irfan Shamsi. I'm a resident and a mom. I would not expect even a kindergartner to walk out like this. I expect way better from the president of the Board of Education of South Brunswick. Thank you.
Any other comments? Naveen Giandani, Kendall Park. Mr. President, or Mr. Vice President, Mike Mitchell, Mr. Feder, members of the board. Parents are a crucial link between children and schools. I was shocked to find that the district had discontinued the spring conferences for middle and high schoolers. However, they were held for elementary schools. So are high school and middle school parents paying less in taxes? I should ask Mayor Charlie to give me a discount on my property taxes. 6 of you, I should say 7, Scott does not have any kids in school, do not currently have a child studying in school. You probably have forgotten what a role a parent has in a child's academic achievement. The spring conferences were discontinued without any board resolution or action. And Mr. Pawlowski confirmed that in response to my Oprah request. Thank you, David. There was no parent survey requesting our input. They just managed, poof, parents matter. So going forward, I would appreciate, and I think South Brunswick would appreciate, some transparency and some input from the parents before taking any unilateral action. The other problem I noticed is late buses were eliminated, and many bus stops were eliminated. Reason, no money. We saw that, we lost some money, but I see something happening. The district is building a wellness center. It's costing $3.2 million a year, and staffing costs $1.8 million a year. And these are just initial estimates. Yeah, it's supposed to save some costs because I believe it's going to, we have healthcare costs, but the numbers somehow don't make sense, and I don't know how much savings are really there. So there's money for a wellness center, but I have to pick up my kids from school. Go figure that out. Parents don't matter anymore. So the people of South Brunswick have entrusted this board the responsibility to represent our concerns to the school administrators. And a lot of things have been done without the board's consent. So I'm thinking that going forward, we have more transparency and things are more kosher. Good night, South Brunswick. Thank you all. God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments from? Well, at this time, we're going to call for to close the meeting.
Closed public report.
I'd like to make a question. I know this is an unprecedented meeting, but we're not going to do executive session, but would it be possible to make a motion that we, the board, gather for a debriefing after this meeting? Can't?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call for a close to public portion of the public comments.
So moved.
Can I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Rogers. Public session is closed at this. All in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
I was getting there. Motion to adjourn. Moved by. Yes, moved by, we have a motion by Mr. Nathanson, seconded by Dr. Raj. Meeting adjourned. Good night, South Brunswick.